Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I'm Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Quarry Season 1, Episode 4. It's called Seldom Realised, and full spoilers for the episode. Damn this show. This show might be the best show on right now. It might be.
I'm trying to think. Let me have a skim at what else is on. Refresh my memory.
I,
There's a
I
lot.
There's a lot right now, but I feel like it may not be the one that I'm necessarily the most excited about each week, but every time I watch it, I'm like, oh aye, this is great. I forgot this was great.
Yeah, no, you might be right. I'm just having a quick skim.
This, because last week we said, oh, episode 3 was the best one yet. This week I'm going to say it, episode 4 was the best one yet.
Yeah,
This was a phenomenal hour of TV.
I
Like,
hate that this show is getting better and better like this because it's like it kind of came out of nowhere.
it did. And I feel like hardly anyone is even talking about it. It's really
Yeah,
weird.
I'm seeing no one talking about it. Nowhere was promoting it. You know, where everywhere does
Yeah.
they're like, oh, what's coming up on TV at the start of the fall season?
Yeah,
It was nowhere.
because IGN did a big, here's what's coming fall season. You know, all the new shows that are hitting, all the returning shows as well. It was a very comprehensive, it was like 8 pages long. Here's all the shows starting over September, October time, and it was missing. It wasn't there.
Yeah,
They missed it.
we
IGN missed it.
stumbled across it by chance, and I'm
And
so glad we did.
yeah, this was mostly set at a motel. Um,
Yep.
Mac and Joni. It's basically a series of excellently acted and excellently directed conversations with other things in between. But I actually felt the need to go and write down what each of the because there's 5 of them. There's 5 conversations in this episode that are absolutely astonishingly good,
They are, yeah.
and they build upon everything that's happened up until this point. As on top of that, there's excellent cinematography going on in this one as well. There's some fantastic metaphor and just symbolism going on throughout this one as well. It's just it's packed with stuff, and it's the least action packed one, if that makes sense. Like there's no
Yeah, there's like one actiony bit,
yeah
really.
yeah there's no car chases. There's none of that. There's a lot of tension. There's a ticking clock as Pegleg is a I've settled on Pegleg, folks. Just accept Pegleg. He's like hunting them down. He's pissed. We see the start of the episode when he's like picking the leeches off of his body because he was like left in the water and all that, and he's trying to track them down. He uses tricks, and I will say him shooting that guy who gives him the phone details was very well, very visceral, very like
It was visceral is the right word.
yeah. I could tell he was I seen it coming, but at the same time the way it was happened and was shot, that the way to not no pun intended, but the way it was executed was perfect.
Yeah, you see it coming, but only like half a second before.
Yeah, exactly. It's half a second before it happens.
Yeah, it's such a tight thing. You realize like he delivers his line, and then that's it. There's just enough time for you to
Yeah.
realize what's about to happen.
Yeah, and it cuts to that wide shot outside, and you just see the blood pop, and he falls, and it's this is a weird thing to say, but it's my favorite type of gunshot in a movie or a TV show, where it cuts to wide, and you just see the splat coming from
Yeah,
the shot.
it's good.
I like that. But of course, the main focus of this episode is Mac and Joni and them working through their issues and going through everything that's been building up over the first 3 episodes.
Yeah,
Between what she felt when he was gone, what he was feeling when he came back, their both of their affairs, everything.
the reason he left to go for another tour.
Yeah, the line, everything. So I'm gonna before we get to the symbolism and stuff of the other things in this, I want to go through these conversations here. All right. So the first one is this is after she storms off and she takes the car and she comes back half an
Yeah.
hour later,
It's
and
just like hit the panic on his face when she goes off with that car and he has no idea what's
yeah,
about to happen.
which of course stems from a smaller interaction before when they're talking about having kids, and he cracks a really sort of mean line about you'd have been a terrible mother anyway, or something to that effect, and that's kind of what sets it off. And actually, I really should mention that scene because we then follow him. He gets up, and we follow him mostly in one shot, I think.
It looked like one shot, but
Yeah, yeah. Maybe it wasn't. I think it was very fluid, and there was a lot of it that was one shot. But I think the fact that I'm doubting it in my head probably means there was some cuts. But it was very. It was in real
Yeah.
time at very least. You know, it felt like you felt every single step as he got over to the guy in the pool, and that's when the whole pool thing comes up, and we'll talk about that. But and then she comes up and she like starts, screaming at him, during
Yeah.
that scene, and it's really awkward because he's kind of getting friendly with this, the owner of the motel. He's making small talk, and they're getting on, and she comes up and creates a scene. But so she comes back, and another thing I loved about this particular scene is when she sits in the bed, because she's went and got beer, and she's sitting down having a beer, and he like takes a seat, and the door's still open, and I love that you can just see this bright, it's not so bright that it's blown out. You can still see the cars and people walking past outside, but it's just it's like they're in darkness, but the light's right outside.
Yeah.
Just fantastic stuff. But and this is where he says, you were gone, I was worried, so on and so forth. And that's when she starts getting sarcastic. She starts getting salty and saying, "Oh, I was gone for 30 minutes. Oh, that must have been, bad for you. That must have been rough. I can't imagine what you went through in those. I mean, I'm paraphrasing. I can't remember the exact lines, but
You get the idea.
yeah, and it's like you were gone for a year.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I remember watching this scene. I'm like, oh, this is a great scene, especially where it goes into him saying why he went back, because he did one tour that he was conscripted for, but he chose to go back for a second tour.
Yeah.
And he said, I did it for my friends, my brothers. They were over there, they needed me, and that sets her off, and it all escalates to when he reiterates. He's like, no, like they were over there dying and bleeding, and I was in my backyard in a pool,
Yeah.
right? And
It adds a beautiful extra layer to all those shots we see of him floating in water as well.
It does, yeah. It sort of reinforces the purpose of all that. I mean, it worked on its own anyway, but now you go back and it's like, oh, there's an extra layer to this, and why there's all this pool imagery, and why it's been a constant theme
Yeah.
throughout. And she's like, and she's not happy with that response. She's like, what, you still chose them over me? I'm your wife. And he basically says, but when I was back, I was nothing, and I had to feel like I was something to deserve having you. Like,
Yeah, basically, I think he says that she didn't need him anymore because she'd got a
Yeah.
job while he was away and she was self-sufficient now.
yeah, whereas he felt like useless. He built a pool. That's what he did when he came back. He built
Yeah.
a pool, which I'd love to build a pool personally, but
Aye, but it's sure it's constructive, but it's very selfish, isn't it? Really, we think about it. You're building a pool for yourself,
aye.
whereas what he was doing before, he felt he was contributing to helping others.
Yeah, and since we're talking about pools, I'll bring up the symbolism of the pool, because obviously the running thread throughout is every time he leaves her, he goes and talks to the owner, and they talk about how his pool's filthy. He tries to swim in it, and it's like, and the guy even says, "Oh, it's like a toxic piss." Why?
He says, radiated piss.
Radiated piss. There you go. And the whole symbolism here is that the pool's their marriage,
Yeah.
and he's trying to Mac offers to fix the pool. He keeps suggesting things, and you'll also notice that after they start draining the pool, which is the first sort of big thing to do, we keep returning this shot of the hose where the water's like draining out of it.
Yeah.
And the whole point is that over the course of this episode, as they're having more of these conversations, all of this toxic water is all of the baggage that they've let build up, and it's coming out as the episode goes, which is why at the end of the episode, when they leave the motel, it finishes. Now,
Yeah.
it's a little bit early technically because the final bit of baggage doesn't come out until the scene after, but it works. It's...
You give them some creative, just
Yeah.
leniency, just for
Yeah.
the sake of letting it work.
Did we really want them to force them to stay there for another scene for that last conversation?
Exactly.
So we could have that fit perfectly? I don't know, but that's what the whole thing was. He was desperate to fix this pool because it's what he did when he came back, and it's the pool's representing his marriage. It's him trying to...
And he's trying really
Yeah.
hard, like he's making an effort. He's like, what? He comes up with ideas like, why don't we get this pump?
Yeah.
And nowhere's got it. And it's just like the idea that no matter what he's trying, stuff just keeps getting in the way and he can't quite get through.
Yeah. Because it's like, oh, you need a new... It needs to be drained. Oh, the pump's buggered. You need a new pump. Oh, it costs too much. I'll try and fix it. You got tools. He keeps trying to like, problem solve.
Yeah.
But yeah, so later on, by the way, there's a little bit of tension because Mac thinks like one guy who's staying there might be working for the broker that he's been followed, and there's a little bit of tension there. I only want to mention that because I do really love the scene where Joni goes to get ice, because it's like only it's just her walking again, it's all in real time. Her walking around to the ice machine, and then she runs into that guy, and the entire time it's really tense. Like, you feel like because
It
she
is.
stepped out of the room, she's in danger. You know, it feels really,
It's partially because obviously the way it's shot, the
yeah,
music.
yeah.
But then there's the idea that we know this guy is hunting, and we've seen him getting closer and closer, and it's just like, how close is he now?
yeah, and it's like you say, the way it's filmed almost like a slasher movie.
It is very reminiscent of a slasher movie.
It felt very John Carpenter following Laurie Strode in Halloween. It felt like that almost.
Yeah,
And there was no creepy music or anything like that. It was just the camera work. That's all it was.
yeah,
And obviously the implications of they're in danger that we already know, but it was pure down to filmmaking, which is great. But when she comes back, he notices that her bandage needs changed because she's got her shoulder's been injured from the previous episode, and he's like, okay, I need to fix it, and she takes off her top. And at first, I mean, I wasn't like jumping to we have to have a topless scene. I wasn't being cynical about it because I think this show has shown that it's not. It's not trying to just have boobs for the sake of boobs and have excessive nudity for
yeah,
the thrill of nudity. But again, this actually became very important that she was topless in this scene.
yeah,
I thought because she becomes vulnerable and she tries to open up. She goes in for a kiss first of all, and then when Max sort of backs off, she finally says the name of the guy she was cheating with. Because even though she knows he knows, we talked about this. She knows he knows, he knows she knows he knows, and so on. But they've not talked about it, and she says, "We can talk about it. We can talk about Cliff." And that's the end of the conversation. He leaves. He's like, he's not ready for this.
yeah.
But again, it's this fantastic play as they're playing off each other, and it's almost like a chess match of feelings where they're both trying to like reach out, but they keep getting angry at each other because the things they're bringing up are causing stirs of emotions.
Yeah, it's fantastically done because none of it feels forced. It's only been 3 episodes before this, yet all of it comes up nicely.
Yeah,
Like like I said, 5 meaty conversations, which to get that out of only 3 episodes worth of content, like an aftermath to deal with, that's quite impressive.
really great stuff. And like I said, like often I'd probably say like 95 times out of 100, maybe even 99 times out of 100, if a woman's topless in a movie or a TV episode, usually I can look at it and go, probably didn't need to be. There's very few times where I'll say, no, that was necessary for what that scene was doing, and this is one of those times. I think it added to the scene.
Yeah, it did because, like I say, she's literally exposing herself.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So Matt continues to try and fix the pool, and he ends up bringing the pump itself back because he's took the main part of it and he's tinkering with it with tools, and he's back. And this is where things escalate quite a bit. So Joni, after he gets kind of angry when she's pushing him to talk, and he gets really mean and calls her a whore. Basically, he says, well, at least we both agree you're a whore, because she admits, oh, I had sex with Cliff. She tries to return to that subject, and it pushes his buttons. He's not ready for it, and he lashes out. And
this is where she lashes back.
She lashes back. Yeah, it's action and reaction, or at this point, reaction to the reaction to the
Yeah.
But she starts saying, well, what you telling me in all that time over in Vietnam, you never had sex with prostitutes, and really like accuses him of all. I mean, really kind of unjust in a lot of ways. And he reacts. He starts shouting, saying, "No, of course I didn't, because my marriage means something to me." And then she takes it one step further.
Yeah.
Into a place that then brings it all back into the fact that he's just back from Vietnam, and brings it back to the accusations that people had in general of him and other soldiers when he came back from Vietnam, and says, "No, that's right, you were too busy killing women and children to be doing that."
Yeah. It's probably the hardest hitting moment of the episode because it's the point where he realizes that his wife didn't entirely believe him. Like, obviously she's put on the idea that she's okay and she's fine with everything that he's done, not like being God, but all I mean is like the actual acts that he's done over there.
Yeah.
But now he sees her as part of the mob that was there when he arrived at the airport.
Yeah,
Almost.
now she's villainizing him, even not if it's not as much as everyone else, even if it's something she wasn't even aware of. May have been subconscious, but she had those doubts.
Yeah, those thoughts were there.
Yeah, and that's when he properly gets angry and he throws something in it. You feel the anger. Like, it's one of those things where you're so into the conversation and so in tune with what the characters are feeling. That pit of your stomach feeling where it just drops because oh no,
Yeah.
and you're not sure where it's going to go. You're not sure if it's going to work out, and great stuff. Conversation number 4. She's lying in bed, he's lying on the floor because that's how they're sleeping at night in this motel, and they've calmed down a bit. And I'm glossing over a couple of things that happened when he got angry.
Was that the bit where he got to attack the guy?
He went out and attacked this guy who turned out to just be a salesman of encyclopedias.
It's so cheesy, almost.
Yeah.
Like encyclopedias. That's like that go-to like cheesy salesman thing.
Also, actually, I want to point out, I've glossed over something else I didn't mean to. But I'm forgetting exactly where in the episode it starts. It's quite far. It's like halfway in it, maybe before conversation 3, probably. It's when they wake up after the first night of stuff, and the real life event that happened in Munich at the Olympics in 1972 is like playing over the news. And over the rest of the episode, we hear more updates in this until it ends at the end. This is the part of symbolism or where this fit in that I wasn't as completely sure about. I think part of it is to show them how almost inconsequential their own stuff is, like how big other stuff. Look, this is what's going on in the world, and it's like that contrast. Like, I see that. I feel like there's probably a bit more to it than that I'm not quite putting my finger on.
Yeah, I got the same stuff, and like I say, it's the idea that part of it maybe is just the idea that they're so closed off that they're not even noticing what's going on in the rest of the world. They're just so caught up in themselves because they barely acknowledge it.
They barely acknowledge it. And also, I think this is the smallest thing, but I think for Mac it must be a little surreal as well because it's like a big crisis event that's on the news, like Vietnam would have been constantly, except he's not involved.
He can't help. He has no involvement.
Yeah. So, yeah, but I wanted to mention that as playing out over the last like half of the episode.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's in bed, he's on the floor, and he's calmed down, and again, it's like him problem solving. Like, he's seen the effects of what he's done before, and he's like so he asks calmly, and he asks, how did you and Cliff start? And it's a very genuine, like,
it's the same thing as the pool, that when one thing doesn't work, he tries a different approach.
Yeah, gets angry at first, and then, what's the next best solution?
Yeah.
And this is where, again, because he reaches out in I don't know if it's touching, but he reaches out in a genuine manner that's not angry, it's not lashing out. She gives him the answers. She gives him the honest stuff, and he asks, "Did you love him?" And she says no, and then she sits up and like makes sure he can see her face, and she says no again.
Yeah.
And of course, this scene ends with her broaching the question that she's also been thinking about, and we know she's had this in her head since early episode 2. She asks, "Did you kill him?" Now, of course, they get interrupted, but again, that's conversation number 4. It kept giving me these scenes where I was like on the edge of my seat because of like their back and forth, their responses.
And it is literally just conversation pieces.
It is. It's excellent acting and directing. This is why, like, I like, obviously this isn't a movie, but like sometimes people will say, "Oh, there's no point in going to see a movie in the theater if it's not an action movie or a big sci-fi movie or whatever." And I'm like, well, no. If I'm going to be as connected to something as I was to this, that experience is still there. It's still something I want to experience like that, because these conversations had more tension in them and more stakes than some end of the world threatening fights that I've seen in superhero movies, because it's written to have stakes.
I'd say more than some.
Yeah, most of them.
Yeah.
And it's all about stakes. It's not the literal stakes of, marriage is ending, world is ending. It's not the literal stakes. It's the stakes of how you feel about what's going on. And
it's the stakes in proportion to what it's telling you. Because obviously the whole thing, to keep the superhero analogy up, the idea is that the world's in, but you can't care about the entire world to the same degree you can attach to two people. Like it's the same reason why we as humans can't get upset when we hear, like we can get upset, but we don't get upset about hearing a random people die as we do people we know, because we have to be able to disconnect, otherwise we wouldn't be able to function.
Yeah, we would be constantly miserable about every single person who dies every single day.
Exactly, which is why focusing in on a certain character and doing it just this well allows you to act and function as if they were people that you know and care about.
It's fantastic. This episode was a masterclass in just everything.
It was.
Writing,
it was just flawless.
Directing, acting, the whole thing was just phenomenal. So, and obviously this is when Pegleg finally shows up, and we see him like tracking them. He goes to her work and usually some tricks, and we see him put the pieces together, and he gets here at this time. And it's like, here's the knock on the door, and you hear the manager's voice, but you get that he's probably held at gunpoint. Like, but you never see any of it, which again, it's good. It's good. It almost reminds me of the start of the last episode when he went to their house and Joni opened the door, and you seen him, but you knew it was malicious. You knew there was something bad waiting on the other side of that door. And
even when we said we couldn't remember who he was, just at first glance, you immediately got the threat just from the way it was presented. And the same thing is here. Like, even though you don't see anything, you don't know there's something wrong, but you just feel it.
Exactly. So yeah, he comes in. They have a good moment, and Joni like covers up against the wall. He's beating the crap out of Mac. He's shot the manager, and that's when the woman that we've seen like once, maybe twice, like comes in and shoots him, and obviously she's revealed to be working for the broker. She obviously followed Mac and Joni here to keep an eye on him, because after all, it's the broker's investment.
Yeah, you don't want to waste your money.
Exactly, but Joni actually takes the kill shot.
And it clearly affects her.
Oh, absolutely, it really does.
And they'll be very interesting because obviously now.
Oh wait, actually, did she shoot him first? She might actually shoot first.
She might shoot first,
and then the woman comes in and finishes him off. Yeah. Yeah, she does, because she shoots him in the face, but it like sort of goes.
Yeah,
I've flipped that around in my head, but it affects her either way.
But yeah, the idea is now she understands what Mac went through at war to shoot someone.
Yeah, she had to shoot him to save him, and that's what he went through that on a regular basis for 2 years.
Yeah, and now she's gonna understand why he's such a broken man coming back from that.
Yeah, so they go back home, and this leads us to the final conversation of the episode, the fifth one, the ending scene. Joni once again, she's actually completely naked. She's in the bath, but obviously we only see the top half. And Matt comes in and sits down next to her as she's in the bath. Again, water, running thing here. And she's almost cleaning herself like he always wanted to do with the water after he came back from Vietnam, after he was had kills and things like that. And he sits down and he just opens up and tells her everything, the truth about coming back, about Arthur, about refusing to work for the broker, but then having to because of Arthur, and what the broker might do to his wife and kids if Arthur doesn't pay off the debt, and everything. And then obviously Cliff, but the way he does it isn't just say I killed Cliff. He starts at the start. I was given my job. His name was this. He says it in the way that says he didn't know that it was someone who was cheating on.
He didn't know until too late.
Yeah, and he saw it happen. He says, I followed them back to this house, our house, and he pauses and says our house, and that's one of those little touches in dialogue where he has the actor say it again, but rephrase it to a more personal way. It's almost like as he's saying it, he's realizing the impact of what he just said. He's saying to this house.
Yeah, because this house just implies where we are. Our house is belonging, it's connection.
Yeah. And he's I'm this broken. I killed him. I'm this messed up. And he goes into the whole thing and ends up saying, "Look, I want to stay here and I want to make this work. I want to, I don't want to not be with you. But if you want me to leave, if you have to call the police, and presumably get on the right side of the law, so that he's now, completely guilty of everything, and she's like exonerated because she's called it in and said, I think my husband's up to this, so on. I'll do that." And he gets up to leave, and I knew what the final shot was going to be now. And it's the perfect final shot. This whole episode's about them being fractured. It's about emptying the pool, fixing the pump, and her hand reaches up, close up of her hand, grabbing his arm or hand so it won't go. And that's the water flowing again in the pool. Like,
yeah, they're coming back together.
Exactly. It's working again. Which, and, you know, I said this last week, I did not think the plot of like episode 3 and, you know, and obviously episode 4 as well, because since it followed on, was what it was going to be when we started this show. I didn't see it going this direction, at least at this point in the show. And if you'd asked me at the end of last week, like, by the end of the next episode, would I believe there's hope for these two crazy kids? I would have said no. they're pretty screwed.
Yeah.
But they told me a fantastic story of how they at least have hope now of reconciling and fixing this.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just so fantastically done. It's really hard to comprehend how amazing this was.
And it was, even though it was a part of an overall narrative, and all of it, of course, only meant stuff because we'd seen the previous 3 episodes, but this episode was a complete story with a beginning, a middle, and an end, and it was satisfying. And the best TV episodes always have an ending. They never leave you feeling like, oh, it was only... You know, because sometimes when we talk about other shows, I know we do it with S.H.I.E.L.D. sometimes, where, oh, there's great episodes, but then there's episodes where, oh, this was a moving the chess pieces around the board episode, where it was setting things up for the next one. And that's fine, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, it's okay. It's got to be done at times, but it's never as good as ones like this.
But this wasn't. This was an episode with a conclusion. This was an episode that had dramatic and had weight to it in it. Oh, so good. So good.
It was such good stuff. More people need to check this show out. Like, seriously.
They really do. But unfortunately, the people who just sat through 25 plus minutes of us talking about it
have
probably
already watched it. Yeah.
As they should have.
All right, you people watching this, go and spread the word. Make your friends watch it. Just sit them down and go, watch this, and just don't let them up until they've sat through all 4 episodes.
So good. So that is Quarry episode 4. That is halfway through the season. Obviously now we're pumped for more. So let us know what you thought of this episode in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching. Get us on Twitter at mail_fuzz. And of course, the channel's very busy this weekend with lots of Luke Cage going up because that just hit on Netflix and we're doing reviews of all of that. If you're interested, great, check it out. If not, then don't worry, it'll be back to not being, you know, flooded, to use another water term, with Luke Cage in a couple of days' time. So thanks very much, guys. Keep watching TV. We'll see you in it. And that was a good pun. So
it was, especially as I think it might actually have been unintentional.
It was. I thought of it unintentionally, but before I said it, it clicked. So I knew when I said it there was a pun, but
it went with it anyway.
It was like the guy getting shot in the head. A split second before it clicked. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.